這是史丹佛的一堂課，台上的講者臨時做了一個民調。
So I want to just have a quick look, the job market reality check. Actually, out of interest, I don't know, this is are you juniors? You're graduating this year or you're graduating next year? Or what is the general survey? Your third year of 4? Third year of 3. Oh, so you're going to be graduating coming summer. How many people are already looking for jobs? Okay, quite a few of you. How many people have had success? Nobody. Oh, 1. Okay, sort of. Okay, that's good.
他做完民調，放出這張投影片。
So like you're probably seeing some of these things, the signals out there. Junior hiring slowing significantly. When I say junior, I mean like graduate level. High-profile layoffs are dominating the headlines. I was at Google a couple of years ago when they had the biggest layoff they'd ever had. We're seeing layoffs at the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, other companies like that. It feels that entry-level positions are scarce, and I'm underlying the word feels there, and I want to get into that in a little bit more detail later. And also competition is fierce. But my question is, should you worry? And I say no.
他說先別擔心，然後從疫情開始講為什麼會變成現在這樣。
Every company then hiring like crazy in 2022, 2023 meant that most companies ended up over-hiring. And what that generally meant was people who were not qualified for higher positions usually got higher positions because you had to enter into a bidding war just to be able to get talent. You ended up having talent grabs, and you ended up having stories like the one Andrew told, where it's a case of, here's a person with AI talent, let's grab them, let's throw money at them, let's have them come work for us, and then we'll figure out what we want to do. So as a result, 2022, 2023, all of this massive overhiring happened because of AI and because of the COVID logjam. And then 2024, 2025 is the great wake up, right? Where a lot of companies realize this overhiring that they had done, they have ended up with a lot of people who are underqualified for the job that they were doing. A lot of people ended up getting hired just because they had AI on their resume, and there's a big adjustment going on.
那到底還有沒有工作？
And I will also argue that even though it looks like the signals look like there aren't a lot of jobs out there, there are. What there aren't a lot of is a good combination of jobs and people to match them. And then, of course, this bias towards delivery. Ideas are cheap, execution is everything.
他手上有一个真實案例，一個被裁員的工程師，追蹤表上投了300多份工作，每一次都倒在最後一關。
There was one of the other large tech companies where you do like lots and lots of interview loops, and every time towards the end of the loop, he knew he did a great loop, he solved all the coding, he had great conversations with the people, or at least he thought he had, and then every time within a day the recruiter would call him and say, no, you didn't get the job. And it was heartbreaking. And like I said, 300 plus jobs he had been tracking. Until I decided to try and do a different sort of interview where I gave him a really tough interview. I gave him some tough leak code. I gave him some really obscure corner cases in his coding, and I saw how he reacted. And how he reacted was the advice that was given to him in the recruiting pamphlets. And a lot of these recruiting pamphlets will say things like, you're going to have an opportunity to share an opinion, and you've got to stand your ground. You've got to have a backbone. Don't bend. His interpretation of that was to be really, really tough. Right? So I would pick corners I'd pick holes in his code, I'd pick corner cases where things may not work, and I would give him a test of crisis. And this advice that he'd been given to stand his ground ended up making him kind of hostile in these interview environments. It's just this was the advice he was given, and he followed that advice and he failed so many interviews as a result. So when I gave him the next job that he was interviewing at was at a company where teamwork is very, very highly valued. And the good news is he got the job at that company. He's now working there. He doubled his salary from the job he was laid off from. And he ended up having now he looks back on it, he had 6 months of fun employment. But at the time when he was going through all of that, it was a very, very difficult time for him. So the flip side of it, like if you're looking at a company and looking at the people you'll be working with is very, very important. But also realize they are looking at you in the same way. And so if you've gone to tech interview coaching and they gave you that advice to stand your ground and have a backbone, it's good to do that, but don't be a jerk while you're doing so.
這堂課的開場是吳文達，他講的是同一件事的另外一半。
known, which is the product management bottleneck, which is that when it is increasingly easy to go from a clearly written software spec to a piece of code, then the bottleneck increasingly is deciding what to build, or increasingly writing that clear spec for what you actually want to build. And because of AI coding, the process of building software has become much cheaper and much faster than before, but that ironically shifts the bottleneck to deciding what to build. And the other thing I'm seeing is that engineers that can also shape products can move really fast, where you go one step further, take the engineer, take the PM, and collapse them into a single human. And I find that there are definitely engineers that like doing engineering work that don't enjoy talking to users and having that more human, empathetic side of work.
一边是新鲜人找不到工作，一边是公司说找不到对得上的人，中间卡住的不是履历，是你能不能自己决定要做什么，然后把它做出来。